Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to a special episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese. I wasn't planning on doing a show tonight, but after witnessing that absolutely insane game between Juventus and Borussia Dortmund, I felt like I had to do something. If you thought that Juventus 4 into 3 on Saturday was a crazy game, then, well, that was nothing compared to the match that we've just witnessed tonight in Turin, match day 1 of the Champions League. It was 0-0 at half time in a really quite boring 45 minutes where there was virtually no chances at all. The game finishes 4-4 with a few minutes to go. Borussia Dortmund scored a penalty to make it 4-2. You think the game is completely over. 4 minutes into stoppage time, the score is still 4-2 when Dusan Vlahovic scores his second goal of the game to make it 4-3. And then in the 6th minute of injury time, with the last kick of the game, Vlahovic crosses the ball in and Lloyd Kelly headers home his second goal in as many games to make it 4-4. Onside by millimetres, and Juventus somehow, again in injury time at the death, managed to get a result, and they draw 4-4. It was just a totally batshit second half, completely bonkers. It's a really difficult game to analyse. I don't really know where to start. I'm doing this completely unplanned, but what you could say, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It is just insane. I don't know what to make of this Juventus under Igor Tudor, and they don't really make any sense, these last 2 games, because in both games they played ridiculously defensive, negative, kind of almost catenaccio, Allegri ball kind of football until they've gone behind at certain points in the game, and then they've just completely gone for it. It was the same tonight. They started the game quite negative, defended deep, Dortmund having all the possession. Then Dortmund took the lead through Adeyemi early in the second half. And then Juventus kind of went for it and they started to be more attacking. They started to create chances, but also started to concede chances. Yildiz scored an absolutely magical goal, a curler from outside the area into the top corner, alla Del Piero. Almost 30 years to the day that Alessandro Del Piero scored an almost identical goal in the Champions League for Juventus against Borussia Dortmund in the season that Juventus won the Champions League. The last time Juventus won the Champions League. Juventus won't be winning the Champions League this season, but almost 30 years to the day. It was September the 13th, 1995. Today is September the 16th, 2025, and the player that idolised Del Piero and celebrates like him, and there's a bit of a bromance between them, scores an incredible goal. But then instantly, Dortmund go down the other end. They score through Nmecha, and it's 2-1. And then almost immediately after that, Dusan Vlahovic, who had just come on as a substitute, gets put clean through by a fantastic pass by Yildiz, and it's 2-2. Juventus look like maybe they're going to go on and win it, but then Dortmund score again to make it 3-2 with some poor goalkeeping from Di Gregorio, and then Lord Kelly gives away a penalty with 4 minutes to go. Bensebaini puts it away, and you think it's all over, and then we get that crazy finale that I just described at the beginning. So it feels like 3 points for Juventus. It's only 1 point. Juventus really needed to win this game. All in all, I mean, let's do the positives first. The positives are 2 players. Yildiz, who really was magical. Every time he touched the ball, he was producing magic. Scored an amazing goal, got an assist, also hit the post at 3-2 with a fantastic shot. Great save by the goalkeeper, pushed it onto the post, and he was great. And also Dusan Vlahovic. Listen, Dusan Vlahovic has come on and he scored 2 goals and he got the assist for that Lord Kelly goal header right at the end, and he really made an impact. And given the fact that both Openda and David, who started, struggled in this game, I think Dusan Vlahovic now, who has, I think, 4 goals now for the season, plus this assist, I think he's deserves to be the first name out of those 3 going for the kind of that one-man striker role, if it's just the one. And he deserves to be ahead of them. He had a fantastic impact today, really mentally very strong as well, wanted it, and finished his chances clinically, and picked out that great cross at the end for Kelly. So those 2 players, and we have to praise Juventus' spirit. I mean, they look dead, just like against Inter. They look dead, and they come back with 2 late goals, 2 even later goals today. They just forced it through sheer will, determination, and helped also by some dreadful defending from Dortmund on those 2 late goals. But yeah, that's one thing that Tudor has put into this team, so that's great. But of course, there are lots of negatives as well. I mean, first of all, the defending was abysmal tonight by Juventus in that second half. It was okay in the first half, looked pretty solid, but then Juventus weren't really coming out. The second half, abysmal. Juventus have now conceded 7 goals in 2 games at home, 3 against Inter, 4 against Dortmund, and none of the defenders were good. Not even Bremer tonight. I mean, Kalulu, not good. He did get an assist though for Vlahovic's goal, and Lord Kelly gave away a really terrible penalty. Sort of like threw himself on the floor with his hands out, Superman, almost like he was diving into a pool. Gave away a penalty that, he made amends. He scored his 2nd goal. I mean, it's just mad. But yeah, this Juventus defense, Gatti didn't start tonight, is not going to be strong enough. It's not Scudetto level defense, and Champions League, it's definitely not Champions League level defense. And this Juventus team is not really a Champions level. Well, say a Champions level team. It's not at the level of a team that's going to be able to go deep in the Champions League. We'll go along for this crazy ride and see how far Juve can get. But yeah, there's too many problems there defensively, structurally. Midfield was really, Dortmund were controlling the midfield for much of this game until the game became really unbalanced and crazy in the latter stages. Koop Miners, just not good enough. It's just not happening for him. He missed a big chance actually at 1-0 to Dortmund where he slashed it wide. Juventus showing same kind of weaknesses they showed against Inter, defending too deep and allowing shots from outside the area because they're so deep and because they're not putting pressure on the ball. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Dortmund scored 3 of their 4 goals from outside the area. The first 3 goals were all from outside the area, if I'm not mistaken. If the first one from Adeyemi, if it wasn't outside the area, it was just inside the area, but the other 2 were shots outside the area. That's Çalhanoğlu scored 2 for Inter outside the area, so that's clearly an issue. Di Gregorio shocking on the 3rd goal. And if a goalkeeper is conceding 5 goals in 2 games from outside the area, then you have to look at the goalkeeper. And even you could maybe ask some questions about at least one of Çalhanoğlu's goals and the movement of the feet of Di Gregorio. And definitely that 3rd goal, who I'm forgetting who scored that goal from now because this game was so crazy. The 3rd Dortmund goal, the Couto, low at his near post. You've got to save that. That's a huge error from Di Gregorio. So, I've always had his back, Di Gregorio. I've always liked him last season, but that's not good enough. Not good enough tonight. I mean, Juventus get the point. I mean, they're going to have to battle to qualify. I said it when the group stage was made. When we did our preview, I said, look, this Juventus team's not good enough to just think that they can beat these teams who are not top teams like Dortmund. Dortmund are not a top team. In fact, should be beating teams like Dortmund. This isn't a great Dortmund team. And to be troubled by Dortmund does kind of show where this Juventus team is at. It's a Juventus team that's very flawed, has lots of weaknesses, isn't strong enough defensively. The midfield probably isn't strong enough if you take Thuram away from that. Has goals and players that can rescue the game in attack, but still some work needs to be done on the blend of that attacking unit, which we saw tonight. We didn't quite work with David and Openda. Conceição will come back. So Grover came on, which is great, and you can see the class that's there once he gets fit. It's a flawed Juventus team. It's a fun Juventus team at the moment, and that's really the message I want to say from tonight. It's still 7 games to go in the group, but I wanted to come on and just say, wow. I mean, yeah, just a mad game, mad game. I think the neutrals must have loved that game. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Enjoy the rest of the games on Wednesday. And they've got a lot to live up to if they want to be like this. And Thursday, Napoli versus or Man City versus Napoli, which is the one I'm really looking forward to. But I don't think anything's going to beat this game, because this one, 4-4, is definitely going to be game of the week in the Champions League. Thanks everyone for listening. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.